Welcome to Open Veil, where I discuss a variety of concepts that expand your perception on reality while allowing you to enter into your infinite potential by simply liberating your mind to its possibilities. Do you dare to wander in the depth of my mind?
You know, when we think about the great work of alchemy, many won't even understand the concept of what that truly defines. When going through the journey that allows us to alchemize our life, by the internal journey that it will take for us to alchemize our internal narrative, our beliefs, our concepts, our assumptions, through the processing, observing, and healing of whether conscious or unconscious wounds and traumas and distorted beliefs that don't allow us to move forward and evolve on a soul level. Now we reach certain peaks in our journey, in our soul's evolution, through the experience of life, when we start to realize that we've been stuck for some time in somewhat of a loop, or in an experience that continues going over and over again in circles, because our internal dialogue or narrative or belief system, or on a core level, on a soul level, it is a unhealed wound or belief or attachment or codependency to something or someone or belief or a tradition or whatever it may be, that doesn't allow us to move forward, that doesn't allow us to evolve, that doesn't allow us to rise above that level of self, right? So when we think about the alchemy in life and attempt to comprehend the journey of what it truly defines, it really all starts with you. There's nothing that you can possibly do outside of you to make such transformation, because it always starts from within. Why? Well, for the simple fact that the experience that you observe in your reality, that is playing itself externally from outside of you, is only but a projection of what's happening within you. Kind of like a holographic projection, right? The holographic projection that is coming out from your perception. Therefore, not two people experience life the same, because everybody has different beliefs, different perceptions, different woundings that distort their vision, that limit them or don't limit them, right? Which is the beauty of all life, because it allows us to experience the vastness of the diversity and the potential and the lack of potential that we can possibly be through the human experience, which the human experience allows us to captivate and observe what is it to be an emotional being, experiencing the full vastness of emotions that are indeed energy in motion, being experienced through the senses that we feel internally in our body. It's an individualized experience that only the person that is experiencing it allows themselves to explore what it is to be happy, what it is to be sad, what it is to be excited, overwhelmed, bliss, depressed, anxious. All of these emotions play a great role in the creation of our reality. They play a great role in the creation, or should I say the co-creation of our reality, because it is through our emotional state where we are aligning with the possibility of the reality that we experience. Now, what exactly would I mean by that? But when you think about your emotions, what happens when you start your day and you bang your toe on the bed and something happens and you drop a cup and it shatters? You start your day on a bad start because it has triggered an emotional state in you to now be in a not so optimistic mindset, because your start of your day has led you to now be in a annoyed and frustrated and irritated emotion, right? So now that's going to structure your day if you don't know how to shake it off. If you don't know how to enter into the neutrality of an ability that is the observer of the experience and not necessarily the experiencer that allows the emotions to take control, right? Because that is actually what we do when we are unconscious of what's occurring, which it also serves us, because by experiencing life as the unconscious experiencer, it allows us to be veiled by the illusion of what it is from the not knowing of something, basically living through ignorance, which can be a positive and negative thing at the same time, based on your intention. For positive and negative can be also subjective to the individual. What the true question is, what is appropriate and inappropriate for the intention that I have upon myself? Or am I just flowing with whatever is and allowing myself to just experience all that comes my way? There is no right or wrong in that, right? It's only appropriate or inappropriate actions that should be taken depending on the intention that we have on an individual scale. Now, when it comes to alchemizing our life and realizing how energy works and realizing how we influence our reality by co-creating our reality by the emotions that we remain in. And when we learn to look at the patterns that are taking place in our life and become aware of where are we experiencing most of our life experience, and what energy and what emotion, and is that emotion serving you in your intention or not? Or do you even have an intention? Like I said, some people are just living unconsciously and allowing life to play its course with them, and as they participate in the waves of whatever is, which, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are ready to take full accountability and responsibility and initiative in your life, it is crucial that you understand the concept of what I'm explaining to you right now, because it would completely change the way you go about life and fully experience your life. So when stepping into your full mastery of self, what that really entails is basically allowing yourself to not only play out the experiencer that allows itself to feel the experience of the emotional states that impact a trigger or a moment of being present that allows you to become aware of what that emotion is. And as you become aware of what emotion you're currently feeling, you become aware of what that emotion actually defines for you through the experience that you are experiencing. Now, if you're constantly in a chronic state of depression, for example, obviously it may be something that you don't want to necessarily feel all the time. But for others, they might, because by being depressed, they have an excuse. So they rather be in the victimization of their life so that they have an excuse to not do anything, because they don't have the motivation or the desire or the vision to do anything further than what they're doing currently. So they rather remain still. And if they stay still without an excuse, they might feel guilty. So many people you will see that create illnesses or inconvenience in their life so that they can justify the excuse that they're now telling people. Those are people that choose to live an excuse because they don't have a vision for themselves. If you're likely listening to my content, I am more than positive that you do have vision for yourself. That you feel that there's more to life than that which you're living. That you feel that there's more to life that you can do and contribute. And if there is a possibility that you can indeed co-create with life, the life that you envision for yourself, you are more than motivated and determined to find the way of how to do so. Therefore, you end up receiving and aligning with my content, which is what my intention is, to share and motivate and give clarity to a path that once taken can change your life forever. Now, with clear disclaimer, it is not easy, because this is completely different from learning and reading books. This is a full-blown experience that is going to allow you to not be in the knowing from learning and reading 100 books, but rather going through the experience that is going to teach you the wisdom, the true wisdom from the experience itself, which is what the beauty and the gift of life is. Life is what allows us to be in that present moment, to explore and experience all it has to offer. So when we realize that and we come into that awareness, we start to be present ourselves and ask the questions that allow us the right answers. By asking, what is this moment teaching me? What am I learning? What is this life gifting me in terms of wisdom through my experience, so that I can better understand and know myself, so that in my knowing and understanding myself, I now know and understand others the same. Therefore, I no longer perceive life the same way, because with that level of awareness, your perception of all creation and life all changes. Because from a different mindset, from an expanded experience and mature spiritual mindset, you now see things differently. You're no longer blaming the finger. You're no longer thinking that people are attacking you. You are now realizing that only you are projecting your external reality. So instead of thinking that it is outside of you coming within, it is you internally coming without. As within, so without. So you start to better understand yourself, so that you can understand the reasoning behind your alignment and your reality. So that you can understand the reasoning behind why you had to go through something, because you knew and you know through the patterns of observing your life, you now understand that there's always a reason behind everything. And once you start looking for the pattern and the reason, you start learning, all right, because from this experience I learned A and B and C, and if it wasn't for that experience, I would have never learned or know that through the experience. You know, it's one thing reading and going to school and hearing it from somebody, right? Hearing that this happened to them, or based on this research and this study and this metaphoric explanation and theory, there is a possibility that something is possible, right? That's one way of learning. But the true way of learning, my belief, is going through the experience that's going to allow you to know on a core level through your own experience, where you don't need to receive any form of external validation to confirm that what you know, because you have now known it from your own experience. So validation from an external source won't be necessary, because from your own experience, you have obtained that level of wisdom of yourself, because nobody's going to tell you who you are better than who you know to be. No one's going to know you more than you can know yourself, because only you are experiencing yourself through the experience of your essence in this reality. So now the reason for our reality and what the possibilities could be of why we're here and the purpose, it's way bigger than what we can even fathom at this level of consciousness. So to think so high out there is almost irrelevant, because if we're not focusing on what's happening in the now moment, in this now reasoning, then we can't ripple out the impact that we can truly make on a bigger scale, because this is way bigger than us. Which brings me back into the alchemy of creation and life. When we think about life and light and darkness and the contrast and of the duality that exists, it is all of one same source, just fragmented into different varieties, into the diversity of all that it can be, to the highs and the lows, the black and the white. We won't know what black is unless we have white, and I always say this. But when we think about light and darkness and the creation of all that is, if you look at it this way, you start to realize that it was in darkness that life came to be. Before anything, there was darkness. And light came from the spark of the intensity of thought or curiosity that triggered something to spark light, like the start of a fire that just started, and once it started, it continued on infinitely through the fractals of all possibilities of what it can actually be and become. Just like when a fetus is conceived, before it is conceived, there's a spark that occurs in all creation. There's always a spark that starts the fire of the all possibility of the mind. And when we think about all creation, it's just a continuation of fractal that continues on being a replica of itself, ongoing and ongoing infinitely. So there's no such thing as death, for all existence continues on. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It only continues on in another form. So where does alchemy play out? Well, when you think about alchemy, whether on a macro or micro scale, it's always doing the same thing. It is converting and transmuting darkness into light, because that is where light comes from. It is a point of intensity that allows a fire to be created from that darkness. And once that darkness is sparked from whatever means necessary it might happen, because I'm not sure or certain, but I could only speak from my experience. When we think about our life and its purpose and what we're actually doing here, living through the duality of all that is and experiencing all the emotional states that can possibly be experienced. And when we go through our highs and our lows of the full spectrum of all creation, we start to realize that what we're doing is alchemizing what doesn't serve us into what we desire. So what does that mean? So when we explore the vastness of everything that we are, let's say we're taking an internal journey into our subconscious mind, the hero's journey, to explore the in-depth of what is possible and what we are here to discover and know of the self. So that in the knowing of the self, we better understand the self and get to the root cause of why we are that which we decided to become. Throughout all time and space, throughout all possibilities, because we are infinite beings in itself. So when you're transmuting darkness into light, what you're doing is you're experiencing your own darkness through whatever means necessary, meaning that can come through an experience that fabricates itself so that it can awaken a self-reflective moment in you, a self-evaluation of your reality and your alignment, and also through the projection of another that shows you something. Because when you see evil in others, it's because that evil exists in you, whether you're conscious or unconscious of it. The reason you're becoming aware of it or observing it, if you're not in denial and if you're willing to step into true mastery, therefore you have to take full accountability and responsibility of what you are observing. The reason for your observation and becoming aware of it is so that you can understand it and where its root cause is coming from, because it started from something and you just want to bring it full circle. By bringing it full circle, what you're doing is you're transmuting the energy by understanding it differently. And because we are all connected, coming from one source, just experiencing the illusion of separation through the fragment of our essence, being divided in individualized subjects, we perceive that we are separate, but indeed we are just one source. One source that with the intention of exploring the vastness of its full imagination, as everything is mental, imagining all possibilities of what it can create, what it can be, what it can become, what it was and what it will be, if deciding to be so by removing the limitations from whatever it is that stops it from doing so. So this can also look like entropy, right? Because in reality, darkness is just an unseen abstract of all that is. It's holding all possibilities of everything that you can possibly think of and things that you have not thought of yet. Because it's abstract. What is abstract? It's unpredictable. It's never-ending chaos that looks like chaos, but in reality is just unstructured possibility. And what is light? Light brings a structure to the darkness. By limiting that structure to a certain structure that can only hold what it already knows. So let's say that light is what is observing that darkness. And that darkness now, because it is being observed by consciousness, is now structuring itself to the possibility of that consciousness. So to give it a more in-depth understanding, because this might be difficult to comprehend as I am expressing and articulating what I know and envision in my knowing, I'm going to put it in something more logical and rational. So when we think about quantum physics, for example, the double slit experiment was done to observe the behavior of particles. What was concluded was, when a particle is being observed and measured, it acts upon the assumption or expectation of the observer, meaning when we perceive something that is going to act according to what we believe, what we know based on already current running programs and narratives and beliefs and past experiences, the particles act upon that assumption, that expectation, because the consciousness that is now observing it and measuring its behavior is now entangled with its behavior, because we are all connected. So now if I am conscious and I believe that those particles are going to go through the double slit experiment, which is the experiment I'm speaking about, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. The particle is going to participate in the assumption of that consciousness that is observing its behavior based on measurement and expectation. So what happens, the particles left the mark behind the double split of the particles passing through the two slits and leaving the marks of the imprints of the two slits, because that was what was already perceived that it would do. Now, when you expand your consciousness, it is exactly what's happening. You're breaking the barrier of only that possibility. That there is a superposition and you are everywhere at all times, throughout all time and space, and there's no such thing as time, because we are everywhere as everyone simultaneously. Therefore, we're removing the limitation of the structure that we believe, and we are entering into the infinite possibility of what we can become. And that's difficult, because we have to master ourselves before we can do that. But this is what I'm explaining so you can get a better understanding. So when the double split experiment was played out without a conscious observer to measure it, what happens? The particles remained in their superposition of their waveform. So instead of leaving the marks of the two slits behind, like it was perceived or assumed that it would do, it left the mark of waveforms, as if the wave was hitting the wall and nothing was stopping it. It remained waved because nothing was perceiving or observing it. Therefore, it never collapsed into that assumed structure of being. So now it brings me back to what we're doing here in terms of alchemizing the darkness into light. We are untangling and unwinding and transforming by the observation of what is already current in our subconscious mind, based on our beliefs, based on the structure that we have allowed it to structure itself into. And we are transforming it by changing the way we define it, by changing the way we perceive it, and by allowing it to just be. Because we have reached a peak moment in our conscious awareness that we can now pivot over the limitations and completely transform all that is in the experience of our reality. And obviously not everyone is going to be doing this, but for you who are listening to this, I'm sure you have reached a certain level of yourself that has become masterful enough to learn the mastery that it's going to take for you to master yourself to the point that you are completely transmuting all that no longer serves you into the future that you envision for yourself. But you're doing it from the core, because we all know that you can't change anything outside of you to truly become and be what you envision for yourself in the future. If you're doing it from the outside in, it's only a facade, because it's not happening from the core. This is why things that come easy are normally a lie. They're a part of the illusion that is being fabricated through the creation of the ones that are truly creating what all that is. And when you step into that power, you know exactly what I mean by that. Because our consciousness is what is powering this whole system up. So when you learn how to use it properly, you're going to step into the power that you know to be, and you're going to do what you came here to do. But until then, you're being used to continue the default illusion that is currently running, which is obviously not serving us anymore, which is obviously not serving everyone equally, fairly, which is obviously not providing us what we have the potential to truly become when we step into that position. So if you're still listening and you're still in tune and in complete alignment, from here on, this message is for you, because it has already filtered out anything that doesn't belong, because alignment works that way. So if you are listening to this message at this moment in time and you resonate with this information right now, my guidance and my content will be the guiding system that will be necessary to make an impactful, rippled transformation. This doesn't come in the form of, history and all these things. This is straight experience that I am sharing that is going to give you a better understanding. And like I said, if it's resonating and aligning with you, you know exactly what I mean. If you've gone through your Saturn return, through your dark night of the soul, and you're going through your own transformation, that is why you came here. You are transmuting what no longer serves you into energy that's going to fuel your future. That's going to fuel your own creation, because you are a creator indeed. Now, it seems like the system is going against you because it is your old self going against your new intention of your new optimal version. It is stuck in comfort. It is stuck in the knowing. And it is stuck in the fear of not knowing what will happen if. And it is your duty and your responsibility to use your full determination and knowledge and wisdom that will come about your experience to pave the way that has not been paved prior for yourself. Because as within, so without. If you want to see a better world, you have to become a better world within yourself. Because we all know that you can't win unless you are right within. How you gonna win if you ain't right within. That's where it all starts. The root, the core, the truth. If you're living a lie, of course, this information will not resonate with you. But for those that know exactly what I mean, it all starts with you. There's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're still listening. There's a reason why you're drawn to any of this information. Because you came here to remember yourself. As in, you're taking every aspect of yourself that is living still in the lie of itself into integrate with your full nature. You are reversing what has been done so that you can fully integrate and become in your true power. So that in your full power, you can now recreate a new perception so that you can co-create a new reality for yourself based on your spiritual maturity. Because this is all a soul evolution process. So how we used to look at life when we were 5 is not how we look at life when we are 25. So we no longer want our room to look like Barney and Mickey Mouse on the wall, because we have now grown and matured and learned, and through the experience of life have ripened into our ability of what is possible for us. So we want to change our room up into something that's more suitable for that level of maturity. If you want to think about it like that, it's a perfect metaphor. You know, we're no longer into clowns because it's not funny anymore. Because we have evolved and transformed and matured. So the clowns are not funny anymore. They're not fun. So there's other things that we would rather do. There's higher possibilities of what is truly possible. And we can't allow for the power that we hold to be infiltrated, exploited, and used for something that we're not even consenting to. Because that's what's been happening. Until now, of course. So we have to take full accountability and responsibility for everything that we consume within our minds, in our body, in our soul, in every aspect. Denying all access to things that no longer align with where we're going. Because we're going within. So if nothing resonates with going within, it needs to stay out. We can't allow anything or anyone to just come in and shit on our lawn. Because we're renovating. We're building a new blueprint before we start the rebuild. Before we start the full recalibration that is going to allow us to align with where we are going. And where we are going is going to create a ripple effect that's going to change everything, not only for you, but for everything outside of you, because it is you who's creating it. You are the ripple of transformation. So if you want to see the world differently, you have to be differently. How can you experience heaven on earth if you yourself are not heaven within you? You understand? Which is why when that's the intention that's being placed, you have to first dissect yourself and journey within yourself so that you can find all the crooks and crannies of all the darkness that is distorting your perception, that is blocking you from existing and living the life that you truly want for yourself. It has served this purpose. You have lived this level already. You have explored enough. You have gained all the wisdom and data and experiences that allowed you to know what it is to be ignorant, what it is to be unconscious of who you really are. If you're listening to this, that is for you. Not everyone else is, and that's okay. Everybody is needed. Everybody has purpose, and everybody has a reason and a lesson and a course and a stage for everything that they do. So there's no wrong or right, like I said before. It is what is appropriate and what is not appropriate for the new direction. Because when I put this new address in my navigation system, I can't allow for detours and distractions and stops and everything that's going to be in the way, because of course that's going to come with the journey, to stop me from reaching that goal. If I have to crawl, I will crawl to that destination, because that's where I'm going. And when you want something as bad as you want to breathe, ain't nothing stopping you. And that's where we're at right now. Because if you're resonating with me, that's where you're about to be. How do I get there now is the question. By all means necessary. And that's not to do with anything outside of you. Because all of this that I'm talking about right now is going to be internal work. Because that's the true effortless mastery of creating your reality. You're just tuning in, tapping in, and turning on to the reality you would rather be in. By tuning into what's happening already currently within you. By checking yourself. By reflecting on yourself. By becoming the observer of yourself. So that you can recalibrate all that is no longer in tune with that reality. And sometimes that's going to take a heavy pill to swallow. To take full accountability and responsibility of your own shit. Of your own distortion. Of your own toxic behaviors. Of your own laziness. Of your own doubts and disbeliefs and discouragement of yourself, because you're not learning how to treat yourself right before you reach that. But that's all going to change when you start doing the work. Because when you realize that there's nobody going to come to save you and it's only you saving yourself, you have no choice. And when you have no choice, then you go according to the options you have left. Okay, well, I'm not going to live in this fairy tale, assumption that something is going to come down and save me and pick me up and take me somewhere else. No, it's always been you. On a different level of yourself, but it's always actually been you. As nothing is happening outside of you. Everything is connected. Time does not exist. It is you in the future assisting you in the past, healing your present. It's all connected. I'm just going to keep saying that. And I won't go into details on that. We're trying to get to the basics here. So we can have a better understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because before you reach that level, you can't go with the baggage that is blocking you from it. You can't go with the belief that doesn't allow you to even perceive that possibility. You can't go with the distorted trauma and pain in your body that is blocking you from truly experiencing the vastness of all that you can be. So what happens next? Once you place that intention, you have to go through the process that's going to allow you to heal. To heal by transmuting. By transmuting, you're going to use your level of awareness so that you can change your perception of what you once thought something to be into something more evolved and mature and wise. Because if you don't use the wisdom for your advantage, then what do you need the wisdom for? People like collecting wisdom and knowledge. For what? What are you doing with that? If you're not doing nothing with it, it makes no sense. You're better off meditating for 5 hours in a day if you're going to get wisdom and not do anything with it. At least you're learning how to master your silence, if that's what you're going to do with it. But just understand that this journey is not easy, but is the most rewarding, because it is you doing it for you. And you doing it for you allows you to choose you. Therefore, it ripples outside of you. It starts changing everything you perceive and everything you experience, because you have done the work to make that transformation as within, so without. So when we change our perception of our own evil, of our own darkness, of our own traumas, of our own pain, that energy cannot be destroyed or created, right? So it is transformed into something else. We're taking and dissecting the old pieces of ourselves from our old version of self and using that as new energy for our optimum version of self in the future. Because that's where light actually comes from the experience that allows us to become aware of who we are, therefore expanding our conscious awareness and allowing us a new level of freedom as to what we have the potential to be and become. Because anything is possible once you reach that level. And this might come and take some time because you might have to do a lot of work. But what are you rushing for when you have all eternity to build upon what you have already built on? Because you don't die. That's a limiting belief that they have fed you so that you can think that YOLO, one life to live, we only got... No. Each layer, each life is building upon itself your core essence of your soul, which is only going to go and continue being that which you left it being until you change it. So these are just building blocks of who we want to become until we become that optimum version we envision for ourselves and be okay with it. And not only that, we learn how to do this work so that we can teach others to do the work, because we are all connected. So if I'm helping somebody, I'm truly only helping myself. Because what I do for others, I'm only doing for myself. When you study the laws of the universe, you know that as you give out, you're receiving, because everything comes full circle and everything is connected. So even when life looks a little shady and bad and things are falling apart, they're only falling apart so that you can rebuild on them. And when you know you do good, you know you're going to receive good, so you got nothing to worry about. So it gives you peace. It gives you knowing. It gives you courage, and it gives you confidence. Because that confidence is what you're going to need to believe in yourself. As long as you stay solid in yourself and not let anything outside of you shake you off course. Therefore, removing all distractions and all distorted beliefs and systems and environments that are going to take you off of that is crucial. That's why self-love is important, because it's going to take you to believe in yourself enough to love yourself so that you don't put yourself in situations that are displaying the lack of self-love. Therefore, transmutation and becoming the true alchemist that you were meant to be in your own creation will be vital in this process. Because, like I said before, light comes from the transmutation of darkness. That's where light comes from. So to some degree it is created, but it is created from where light is stuck in darkness, no longer moving. So we are here to become aware of those aspects of ourselves that are in loops and stuck and not doing anything to become alive. Therefore, we can't even see the light of it. That's why it looks dark, because it's not using its light to create and learn more. So it's no longer expanding. So the light dims to the point that it becomes camouflage in the darkness. You see how it all comes full circle? So it is not to say that the light is not in the darkness. It's that the light that is in the darkness is not lit up with the ambition to create and learn and move forward and expand itself. Therefore, we can't see it. But like a lighter that lights up a candle, we are just lighting up candles that are meant to be lit and have not been lit, or were and got shut off, until we come back around and light that shit up again. So that I can see now what I didn't see before, because what light brings is clarity. What light brings is direction. It now sees what it didn't see before. Even if it's one step at a time, it can see the next step going forward. So I'll leave you guys with that. Hopefully it resonates and align with the ones that needed to hear this information right now. Because just know it is your time to shine and pivot forward and start being the true co-creator of your reality, so that you can align with the reality that best suits your true essence and who you truly are, and not the one that has been in default for you. Thanks for listening.